Okay, welcome everybody to Foundation Friday this April 14th. We are lucky to have Miss Ashley Rodriguez, also known as Arod, and she'll be sharing with us her $1 million follow-up. Take it away, Ashley.
Yes, thank you. We're going to drop the mic, do a little beatboxing with that. So yes, this is Arod's $1 million follow-up and some cool tips on how to stay in touch with your clients, whether that's clients that are wanting to buy now, in the near future, or even way in the future. And then again, please ask any questions. I'll keep the mic open for that. Right. So what kind of lead do I have? We've kind of categorized leads when they come in, right? Whether it's coming in from Zillow or a friend or a Sphere or social media, all of those platforms, I'm going to kind of go over what you do when you get that lead in. So the first lead, and this is all categorized too in some of my CRMs, and I can show you that as well. So we've got an A lead, right? So an A lead is somebody that is ready, willing, and able to buy or sell in the next 30 to 90 days. So that would be, just somebody going, hey, Ashley, my lease is up in 60 days. And so I have a little bit of time where I can kind of shop around and get ready to buy. There's more of an urgency on it. So this would be straight up number one on your pipeline. Zillow leads, for example, they're usually, I would say 9 out of 10 times ready to buy right now. That makes sense? Perfect. Then we got the B lead. So somebody that's considering on buying and selling or selling within like the next 6 months. So that one would be, someone that's not quite ready. I've got a few of those right now where their lease is not up for 6 months and they don't want to pay a rent and a mortgage, right? They can't break that lease. Or it could be somebody that's saving up for a down payment. It could be somebody who is going to be moving here from a different state. So they need some time, right? And sometimes it's the thought, like maybe I want to buy, but I'm not sure yet. So you got to really, I'm going to go over some interview questions with those types of leads. C lead. C lead is somebody that you would like to help buy or sell, but isn't ready to kind of take that next move next. So, you have a friend and they're like, gosh, I heard you were in real estate and gosh, I would love to buy a house in the near future, sometime in my future, but I just don't think I could ever do that. And maybe they can't, right? But I'm going to go over the way you want to keep the follow-up with them, because that conversation can become more real as you follow up with them. Referral versus internet lead. Here's the thing about any type of lead, whether that's grandma, Aunt Susie, the person next door, somebody calling in from the website, whether you know the person or not, you want to treat everybody equally. Everybody gets the same treatment. We have a system here that we use, and that system works. It only doesn't work when you don't use it. So if you're doing a pop by for somebody that you've never met or sending a handwritten note, that's great. But you also want to do that for your Aunt Susie, even though you just saw her at Easter. So it's very important that you keep that equal. And that's because this is a business, right? You're running a business and not necessarily a family member at that point. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Actually, have you ever experienced does a C lead ever become an A lead, right?
Yeah, good question. So when I go further into this slideshow, when the C lead is ready to start getting ready for that buy or sell the next 6 months, you can move them up to B lead, or they might be ready and you move them up to A lead. So that's a good question. A lot of times recently, I've had a couple leads that I've been nurturing for, a year to 14 months, and they have bought and sold now. So what did I have to do in order to get that sale? And it's not always right away, but we don't want to forget about them, right? And because they will forget about us if we don't keep the follow-up. Perfect. Any other questions? Awesome.
I have a question.
Yeah.
What's your mode of organizing these leads? Like, do you have a chart or like a spreadsheet you use?
Yeah, I'll go into that in a little bit, but usually number one, I used to be the type of person that could keep it in my brain, right? I'm not that person anymore. So I will literally put it in my calendar. I'll talk to Siri. I say, hey, set a reminder to do A, B, or C. But the main source I use is our CRM. It's Sierra, because you can put tasks in there that notify you, and then
Mm,
you can put them on drip campaigns that remind you, like, hey, you haven't talked to Mackenzie in like 3 months. Talk to her, or send her a handwritten note. And that would be your top 50 list as well. The people that you've worked with and wanting to get referrals from, there's a whole program on that as well.
thank you.
Yeah. All right. So what do you do when a lead comes in? No matter what, I mean, I'm telling you, this is how I operate, right? I will be in a restaurant having dinner with Chris or a friend, and I'll get an immediate lead and I automatically contact them. I put zero time in between it when it's a referral or a lead coming in. So you make that call. If they don't answer, don't leave a message. It's been proven that that doesn't work. And they don't know who Ashley is, right? Hey, this is Ashley. They don't know who that is. So I follow it up with a text, but more effectively, following it up with a video text. For some reason, that has been and shown more effectively than just a call or a text is a video text. And I'm surprised that not a lot of people actually use that more and more. And then I will email them. So there's three sources of contact, but you want to first make that immediate contact right away. Determining urgency and motivation. So this is, where we train on scripts and ways of talking to our clients, but we're going to ask great questions, effective questions, right? Can any of you give me an example of an effective question when you've got a new person on the phone? Well, I'll give you one. It would be, hey, are you just looking for fun? Are you looking to make a move in the near future? Right? That's a great question. Or what has you looking for houses? Where are you currently renting, or are you or do you own your home? Right? Those are effective, great questions. It gets them to speak to you, and it kind of, what it does is that wall that you have when you first talk to somebody new starts to go down because they're more easily able to talk to you. So that's what we're doing when we're asking those questions on the phone with these leads, is breaking that down so that they feel like it's easy to talk to you, and that sales hat goes away, right? I'm not talking to a salesperson, I'm actually talking to a real person. And then within that, nerves get there, you get nervous, and you're asking these questions, but are you listening, right? Active listening is going to get you to the motivation of why they're selling or buying. So active listening, as far as, yeah, we need a bigger space because my Aunt Susie is moving in and we don't have any extra room for her. Oh, wow, okay, good. Your Aunt Susie's moving in, so you need an extra room. You repeat back to them, why they need to move. And then, then you ask a question like, how much time do they need, right, to find this next place? Well, yeah, Aunt Susie's coming in 3 months. We have zero space for her. Okay, so they're really ready to buy. And then you're listening. Now their motivation for buying or selling their house is because Aunt Susie's moving in, right? Sometimes it's hard to do that when you're going through talking to somebody. Sometimes they're very solid and it's like, yep, just want a better place. Yep. And so you just got to continuously ask questions, repeat back to them, because they need to know you're listening to them, and you will get to that motivation. Sometimes you'll have to show the house first before you actually really get that motivation. It's a process. It's not a 5-minute conversation. This also determines if they're going to be an A lead, a B lead, or a C lead, right? And even if they're a C lead, you guys, just think about this. If somebody is not ready to buy right now, but they're ready to buy in a year, how are you going to feel in a year when you didn't let that business go? This is your future income. This industry is not easy. These are just the tools that are going to help you continuously keep that pipeline going. Any questions on that? Perfect. I'll move on. All right. So then we're going to just kind of fall into what are my intentions with this lead? You know, let's take a Zillow call, for example. You know, our motivation, obviously, with them, they're calling off of a property, right? Or even, you know, realtors.com and Redfin, they're calling off of a specific property. They want to go see that home. So you can make the appointment right off the bat. Do that, right? You want to show them that home or tour their home if you're listing, if they're a possible listing presentation. Scheduling a buyer or listing consultation. Now, some of us can get that done on that phone call. But I'll say for me, 50-50, it's 50-50 for me. Most of the time, 50% of the time I can, and 50% of the time I do it after that first contact by showing them the home. And this is where you're going to actually have a relationship and create that relationship with your clients. That buyer's consultation is for you guys at the end of that to be working together, right? Depending on, again, if they're an A lead, a B lead, or a C lead. If it's a buyer, you know, you're going to refer them to your lender and get that pre-approval. And again, when it comes to them not being pre-approved, we do have a lender that we love and use every day. And so we'll refer them to Dave, of course. And then at that point, they're going to be set up for success. They're going to have their buyer's consultation done. They're going to have a signed agreement, most likely. Their pre-approval's ready to go. And then what's next is you put them on the MLS search and you start showing them homes, getting their schedule down, and you're out actively showing homes. So that's what your intention is with the lead. And that's your intention with a C lead in the future. So setting them up on priorities is very important. Any questions on that?
No questions, but I do want to add and just the importance there of the buyer and listing consultation. I know sometimes we sound like broken records, but again, this is, you know, when Joe and I took the leadership training course, we got to learn from, you know, Lennox, and he was kind of put on the spot, and somebody said, okay, if you had brand new agents and you were to say, what is the very most important thing that a brand new agent can learn without thinking, without blinking, without hesitating? He answered, they need to have a dialed in buyer and listing consultation, right? So super, super important.
Yeah, and one of the key reasons why it works so much is because it gets your client to communicate. Like, people love talking about themselves, right? What's going on in their lives, you know, everything. So having that active listening going on and really establishing a relationship and making them feel very warm and fuzzy inside that you have their back is probably one of my best tools as an agent. Like, I genuinely really want and am interested in what they need and want. And that happens on that buyer's consultation and listing consultation. And just to share with you, you know, my consultations are very rarely under 45 minutes when I'm building that relationship. And if they're not talking during the consultation, I know I need to start asking more questions to get them to open up, right? So that's a great point too, Jason. We're breaking it down. We're breaking down the whole system and getting them ready to buy. Okay, so Mackenzie, to kind of answer your question too, you know, following up with an E lead or an A lead, sorry. So for one, I put them in my CRM. I also have two other platforms that I use. I use my desk, right? And I put them on as an A lead, a B lead, or a C lead drip campaign, a seasonal campaign. Happy Easter! Wow, spring's here. St. Patrick's Day, and I get a lot of feedback on that. And it's an automatic email that gets sent to them, so I don't have to worry about, I have to go send this email to them right now. It already just does it for you. I also use another source, which I won't get too complicated, but just put them in your CRM, right? Put them in their CRM. Property within 5 days. You want to be familiar with their drip campaigns, your drip campaigns. Are they 0 to 3 months out, 3 to 6 months out, a year out? Do you just want to stay in contact with them? Those are all the campaigns that are going to be important for you when you put them in there. I also have a top 50 list that I created, and everyone can have one. And those are like the people that you've worked with and that love you and refer to you. Those are your top 50 people. So you really want to communicate to them at least 3 times a year through your drip campaign. And that's going to remind you, like on your CRM, handwritten note, time to send a handwritten note. Pop by, time to go do a pop by, right? And what do I mean by pop by? I mean, go to the dollar store, grab a stack of cards, thank you cards, grab some candy, whatever season we're in, a little garden package of seeds, right? It's springtime. Staple your card with a handwritten note and say, was thinking about you. I was in town. I wanted to drop by and say hi, and just leave it there. Some people do Starbucks cards, right? Some people call and say, let's have coffee. It really depends on the relationship you want to have. Put them in your drip email campaign. Again, I can't express to you how important that is, because I don't even know when those go out, and then I'll get an email back like, hey, Ashley, so good to hear from you. I'm like, oh yeah, how's it going? It establishes that relationship. And they go, oh gosh, I'm getting so close to buying. I want to talk to you. There you go. That was your C lead just now becoming an A lead, right? Setting up on an MLS search. So I am very different when I put my follow-up guys on an MLS search. A lot of the time when you're searching for a home, things change. Their needs and wants start to change. So anytime I put them on a search, I get notified first to look at the house to make sure it's within their criteria, and then I send it out. For me, that makes me feel like I'm still thinking about them and caring about them, and it keeps it fresh in my mind of what they're looking for. And I have no problem showing you how to do that as well. Some people like to just put them on a search and automatically just houses go to them. You do what you feel is right. But that's how I do it. Actively set up tour times and show homes. So obviously, people work a 9-to-5 job, sometimes later. So you really want to really nail down what times that they can go and show homes and keep that open for you. You got to keep those times open. I very rarely say, sorry, that time doesn't work for me. Whether that's me showing them or a showing partner showing them. I just don't say that, because they hired me to help them because they're busy. So I want to make sure I'm available. And those are standards I hold for myself. Maybe that'll change in the future, but that's what works for me for now. Let's see here. Any other questions you have on this?
No, do you mind if I kind of just interject something?
Yeah.
The thing about the A leads is, like, oftentimes you're actively working with them, to either find a house or put their house on the market. And so maybe there could be, and I've even heard coaches say, really no need to set up follow-up with them because you're in constant contact with them. But I think we should just kind of remember that sometimes when we're doing a home search, a week or more could pass without new inventory. So, or even if you're putting a house on the market, maybe they're working on getting the home remodeled or something, in a week or two could pass that way as well. So I do think it's critical that we have a reminder built in to touch them weekly, just in case time does start to slip away.
Absolutely, especially being an A lead, and I'm running into that right now. There's a client I'm actively working with, and he's very specific on what he wants, and that's totally fine. He is aware that we're at a shortage, and especially for what he's looking for. But because what Jason said, I talk to him at least 2 times a week, letting him know this is what I'm seeing. He's starting to open his mind up to other types of homes, which I knew would eventually happen once he starts shopping. Did I know how long that was going to take? No, it's been probably 7 months now, but he's getting close. So with that A lead, you don't want to just send stuff out and then let crickets go. You want to text them, call them, hey, I was thinking about you, or hey, just want to let you know, Thursday's coming up, and Thursdays are the biggest days of the week for new listings to come up. What's your weekend look like? Things like that, right? Open houses. Open houses are great. I actually prefer my client to go with me to the open house. Sometimes I will have them go on their own, but we all know this is a competitive market, and the last thing I want is for my client to be swayed that way. So that's a good point. Your A lead is your next paycheck, right? That's your next paycheck. So the more you work for that, the sooner you're going to get paid.
Can I chime in? I know I came in late, but you said something that made me think of something. And I know this is about following up with the lead, but you talked about doing a pop-by activity with the seeds and stuff.
Yeah.
Just wanted like one simple thing when you're giving someone a tour, if you get them a coffee, make a note in your phone of what it is. One of the things I think of the most in that pop-by situation is we had a client, we popped by with their favorite drink. And you know what? She posted it that day all over social media. She reshares it all the time. And so we made her feel like we cared, and she's letting everybody else know that she's got realtors that care, or maybe they don't even think of us necessarily as the realtor. And that's a really beautiful thing. So those touches are so important, and they're more than just what they do between you and me. It gives a lot of social proof also to what we do as agents. It sets us apart from a lot of the types of different agencies we compete about, so I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of that, sometimes your A lead becomes a C lead, right? Something happens in their life. So for example, I have a client right now that was an A lead, and then she and her husband are now expecting a child, which kind of delayed things for them, right? And so, I have a mom that likes to crochet baby stuff. So I had her make her a hat and booties, right? And I sent it to her. And that was so warming for them. They're like, oh my gosh, Ashley, that was so awesome. I can't wait to put it on them and take a picture, right? And when they take that picture, they tag me, like Joe was saying, they put you on social media. It's the thought that matters, right? That you're thinking about them. You're not just, and that's the thing about this business. You are a salesperson, but don't act like one. You want to stay in touch with them so they know that you're an actual person that has a heart. And that is something that I can't stress more, right? This is why I still answer my phone late at night. This is why I do that. These people are emotional, and I get it. So, and if you want to use my mom, she'll knit some stuff for you too. Her doors are open. But those are just the things I think of. Oh, you're sick. You have, you don't feel good. I send a card. I have an app called Ink Cards. $3 to send a card to somebody, and it's a write-off.
You're a relationship person. You're not a salesperson, is what we really are. The salespeople come and go in our industry. The relationship people are the ones that build a business. The people that are learning to do these things are relationship people.
Exactly. Perfect. We'll go on to following up with the B lead. Okay, so a B lead, there's many categories for a B lead, right? So somebody that is not ready to buy and for about 6 months or maybe like a year, right? 6 to 12 months would be a B lead. There could be multiple things going on. Their lease isn't up till then, or they're not living here and they need to make a move, or they're having a baby, they want to wait for that. Like whatever the situation is, put them in your CRM. You're going to categorize them. You're not going to overwhelm them. You're not going to send them homes and overwhelm them. They're not ready yet, right? Some of these B leads are because they're trying to watch the market and wait for those interest rates to go down. I'm going to be real with you. Some of them still have that as a resource, and they want to watch. And most of the time when I follow up with them, they're realizing it's not as bad as the news is saying, right? So you show them products like your loan products. Hey, I wanted to call you and let you know that there's this awesome new product out that my lender is providing, and I wanted to talk to you about that. Do you have time to hop on Zoom for 20 minutes? I've done that a couple times, and they appreciate that. And next thing you know, they're an A lead. So email drip campaign, call and text. When that notification comes up that says call your client, don't text them, call them. If they don't answer, then text them. But I always find real live voices are very, very important. Call or text once a month to check in and see how they're doing. Sometimes I do 2 times a month. It's really up to you, but always put a note in your CRM that reminds you to give them that call. Sending a handwritten note. I do this, I kind of do a rotation. So it's pretty much every 90 days, I'll send a handwritten note. That's the kind of way I have it set up. And when I say handwritten note, you guys, like I said, it doesn't have to be a lot of money. Like you can go to the dollar store and pick up, 30 cards for $1. Or you can get fancy and put your logo on there and all of that, which I've done too. And then when they are 90 days out from wanting to sell or buy, that's when you put them back on that buyer's consultation, tell them what the market's doing, because it's changed since you talked to them 6 months ago. set them up with a pre-approval lender again, right? You want to get that freshened up. And then you put them on that search. So then you're just back going to the A lead. They're now an A lead. Change that to the A lead. And this is where you start actively buying. Now, there was a client that I had that wasn't quite ready, but I knew that they needed to go see homes. So I just started showing them homes, even though they were still a little bit out. And now they're done. Now they have their home. Any questions on following up with the B lead? Okay. C lead. So very similar, sometimes the C lead doesn't really know if they're gonna buy in the near future. Like I had a lot during 2021 where they're like, I don't know if I'm gonna live here. And so I don't know yet. And that's fine. You don't want to forget about them. You want to literally continue to treat them like you would on any other type of lead, right? Hey, still thinking of moving to Texas? And most of the time they don't. They're just trying to watch what's going on. Like why it's too expensive here. I need to watch things, whatever. So you want to put them in your CRM. Everything is put them in your CRM. Everything. Categorize them. So these guys are a year out or longer. So I put them on monthly touches. That's what I do. So they go onto the drip campaign that says monthly touches. And so once a month, your CRM will say, okay, it's time to have coffee with Joe Blow. Okay, it's time to have a handwritten note sent. Okay, it's time to, contact them in whatever way that is. And rotating the way you contact them is very powerful too. So they don't expect they're always going to get a note. They're going to get a call. They're going to get a note. They're going to get this. Let's see. So once they hit that 6-month mark, if they're like, yep, Ashley, I'm getting real serious. My lease is up in 6 months. You then inform them, hey, did you know that when you do purchase your home, you don't have a mortgage for about 45 days? That is very powerful because they literally can go into contract and have a home and have time to move without having to worry about paying a rent and a mortgage. So giving them that data gets you now shopping at 4 months instead of waiting 6 months. Does that make sense? Yeah, that's very powerful. I'm doing that right now, where if they buy right now, they won't have a mortgage payment until July. Well, their lease is up in July.
Can you say that one more time, Ashley?
What's that?
Can you say that one more time?
Yeah. So when a client says, okay, Ashley, the C lead was a year out or more, right? And you're staying in contact. And then you get on the phone with them like, yeah, I think I'm about 6 months out. Like my lease is up in 6 months. Awesome. Hey, did you know that when you close on your home, when we go out and shop and you close on your home, you're not going to have a mortgage payment for 45 days. So we can actually start shopping sooner than you think. That way you can go into contract, buy your home, and then have time to move without having to stress out about, I got to hurry up and move because I have to pay another month's rent, right? And that's one of the purposes of why that's there. Plus, you spend a lot of money when you buy a house. So it gives you kind of a relief, right? A relief from putting money down and not having your first mortgage payment for 45 days. Always cross that by your lender, but I use David Bryce, and that's what happens. It's 45 days, you get your first mortgage payment. Yeah, so does that make sense, Mackenzie?
Yeah, totally.
Cool. And it gets them motivated and excited about seeing a home, and miracles happen when they get excited and looking at homes, right? They're either going to say, Ashley, I want to hold off for a little while, or hey, I fell in love with this house. I'm going to make it go right, and this is what I'm going to do, right? So it gets them motivated.
I do have a question, Ashley. If you mentioned like people wanting to move out of state or whatever, I mean, is there really ever a good reason to stop following up with people?
No. In fact, I have a follow-up program for after they're closed, right? After they're a closed sale, they may need to sell in the future, buy in the future, or they're going to be your referral source. Like that's a whole nother hat for them now. Now they're your working clients, right? So they're going to work for you. That's where this is, as a new agent coming from me, brand new, spanking new, I had to take as many online leads and internet leads and obviously I had some referrals, but those online leads and internet leads or whatever you have, if you do this, if you actually do this, those are going to be your referrals for the future. This is where your business is growing, and it does take time. I've been in it for 4 years now, and I'm starting to see the return on that. Chris is seeing a huge return on that, right? He's been in for about 7 years now. He's got a huge sphere because this is what he did, right? So it's a lot of talking, it's a lot of checking in, and you have to just time block it. It doesn't have to be all like, okay, I have to do it now, I have to do it now, I have to do it now. Time block it. From this hour to this hour is me reaching out to my guys. And this isn't, I mean, you can call it prospecting, but this is not the same as, calling new leads specifically. This is your referrals, the people you've already worked with. Okay, so good question. So like, okay, that your client bought or sold, right? They're closed on the sale of the purchase of their home. They're in your CRM. The CRM I use, we have tabs, right? They're active, you need to qualify them, they're closed, right? You want to click that closed button and you want to put their new address in there now because you sold them their house. When you put their new address in there, it also shows the date that they bought that house, which is a house anniversary date, right? These are very important dates. And then I always ask their birthday, when I'm putting them in, like, what's your birthday? I like to send birthday cards out, And so you want to make sure you add that into their profile. And then your Sierra or your CRM, whatever you use, is going to say, hey, Ashley, it's been 1 year since Jason Fox bought his home. Send him a card, right? Or whatever you want to do. Sometimes I send a card and a follow-up call or text like, oh my gosh, can you believe it's been a year? How's it going? And then the second year that they've owned, you do the same thing. You do it every single year. There's a client right now that's getting ready to sell the home that she bought 2 years ago. She's moving on with her life. So that is important. Birthdays, I actually do something different for birthdays. I send little gift cards, like Starbucks card or Cafe Ladro, wherever they live, kind of find a local place. And I put that in a birthday card and mail it off to them, or I pop by. It just depends. Like some clients obviously live in Tacoma. It's hard to just pop by, right? But you want to make that touch. On inkcards.com, you can attach a gift to your card. And that's another powerful move, especially if your person is sick and not feeling well. You can send them a get well card with, a bag of tea, right? From that app. And that's been very powerful. When you have a client that has written you your review and they're very happy with how things went, you want to add them to your top 50 list. So that's what's going to remind you guys to do that monthly touch with them. Like I keep saying on every slide, that monthly touch.
What's that app called?
Ink, I-N-K.
Cool.
Yeah. Sending out an email to request a 5-star Google review. Now, some of you have a transaction assistant, some of you don't, but no matter what, after or when you get close to the closing, my transaction assistant will send an email with all of my rated sites. So you got Facebook, Google, remind me of a couple more. I think there's Zillow, right? If there's Zillow, leave
Zillow, Yelp,
yeah,
whatever you want to use, Realtor. But me personally, I strongly recommend Google #1, and then everybody else is #2.
Mm-hmm. And then uploading photos to your Google review page gives you more bonus points. Okay, it gets you popped out there more as an agent. So anytime I go and take photos of a Madrona tree or a gift I gave or keys, you take that photo and you upload it to your Google. And then when people look Mackenzie Anderson up, they're going to see, oh, she really does sell houses. Look at all these photos, As you can tell, Joe and Jason are very big on that. All of their presentation slides have photos of them handing keys out, being engaged with their clients, going to games. Like they're the face of social media. 5-star Google reviews also, a lot of times, especially in the tech industry, they look at that. They look at that before they talk to you. They want to know that you're going to take care of them. Reaching out to them every couple months to check in. We talked about that. Pop buys. Now, pop buys are, if I'm in Marysville, for example, I'll take a couple pop buys between Arlington and Marysville, and I'll just swing by and leave it at their porch, usually. If it's like a really good friend, obviously I would tell them, hey, I'm on my way, I have a little gift for you. Handwritten notes, like I said, you can get those at the dollar store. You can get them custom made from Bear Printing or a couple other sites I've used before. I can refer to you. And those, even like Mackenzie, for example, like when you're working, you know, at night and you have some regulars coming in and you just really admire them, you can just write them a little note, you know, put it in their little check before you leave. Like I've done that before. Asking for referrals, you know, it is not fun asking for referrals, but guess what? That is my favorite gift. And I tell my clients, my favorite gift in the whole wide world is for you to tell people your experience with me, because I feel like as a real estate agent, you could probably throw a rock out your window and hit 3 of them right now, but who's really going to care about you and get you through the end, successfully, happy, and ready to move into their new home. That's my value as an agent, is I do care. I care very much, so almost too much, right? So asking for referrals, if you need to sit in front of a wall and ask the wall 1,000,000 times till you feel comfortable, do it. If you need to come do it with me or we can role play it, there's a lot of power behind it. And a lot of people like it. Like, oh, cool, she's really hustling. She wants business. The other really nice thing about staying in touch with your clients is you're a part of their life. So I had a client that they were a boyfriend, girlfriend, bought at the height of the market. They moved in, they got married, they just had their first child, and she's planting this huge garden, and they're just extremely happy people at this house. So you get to be a part of that when you keep this follow up with your clients. All right, any other questions?
No, but I do want to celebrate you a little bit. I know you brushed over. It's hard when you're doing these presentations to, like, you know, talk about yourself. And so I want to try to talk about you a little bit, and there are countless stories like this. I can't even remember them all, but the one that really pops in and is, you know, recently you helped a lead buy a home, and it was a Zillow lead, right? So it was, you know, she didn't know them from Adam when it all started. And she administered this follow-up program. And how long did you follow up with them?
Yeah, so that Zillow lead was almost 14 months.
Yeah, 14 months. And along the way, they were probably an A lead. They moved to a C lead. They probably were a B lead for a while, maybe back to an A lead. And all the while, she just stays dedicated to her follow-up program and has these folks in a deal. And I cannot tell you how many agents would have given up on these clients and let these folks go off and buy somewhere else. And now she's probably got a client for life and probably a friend for life. So she really does walk the walk and talk the talk. And yeah, so this is really great stuff. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And then, you know, just on another note, these other leads that we get, the website registry. So we started that about 1.5 years ago, I would say, maybe a little bit longer. And there was a very emotional lead that came in, and he was protecting his parents, right, who was selling their property. And he took him 6 months for him to give me their info, because he didn't want anybody talking to them, right? And so I started talking to them, and their house didn't close until April of this year. So it was like almost a 2-year process, right? And unfortunately, their son passed away, right? But we closed with the parents this week, right? And you know what I thought to myself is, I did what he asked me to do. he wanted his parents to be taken care of, not using all their money, putting them into something they can retire in. And I did that. And that is a success story worth no money. Like, no money can make you feel as good as that feeling right there. Right. And then you do get that paycheck. You're like, okay, that was awesome. But my point is that's where you're going to make money, is where your purpose lives. You know, we don't want to have commission breath, right? Things do get hard, but you gotta not have that. You gotta just, why am I doing this? And I've done this many times, you guys. Can't tell you how many times I'm like, I'm done with this, I'm leaving. And then I go have my little tangent and I come back, you know? So, and I learned that growing up, but I found that I could soar and really expand on that when I joined Joe and Jason. That's why we're such a great group here, is because we care about people, right? I think I saw Mackenzie's hand go up.
I was just applauding you.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, like, you're doing
Virtually.
great. Yeah. So that's it for Ashley's Arod's $1 million follow-up. And I would love to, you know, if anybody wants to call me, I can kind of show you how the CRM works and things like that. No problem there. But this is going to make you tons of money, you guys. This is building your database. You want your database growing every day. And also, one little homework piece for all of you today. When you talk to somebody, whether that's a grocery store or, you know, the restaurant or something, please leave your business card.